Good evening. Welcome to another episode of the Defender Fitness Alliance show. I'm host Raiden Denicio. Before we get started, I want to thank you all once again for being part of the Alliance. And guys, if you know any military veterans, any first responders, law enforcement officers who are passionate about fitness, who are in the health and fitness business, have them join the Defender Alliance. All right. So with that being said, I want to welcome our very special guest this evening. He is a Army veteran. He is also the founder and owner of Rush Club Human Performance. I have the pleasure of having AJ Richards. AJ, welcome to the show, brother. Let's start off by telling us a little bit about your personal life and what you're up to now.
All right. Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. So I live here currently in Mesa, Arizona. We've been here for 10 years, moved here from southern Utah. I am married to my high school sweetheart, so I feel like that's a celebrated accomplishment. So I'm married to my wife, and we have 3 amazing daughters. They're very talented. Yeah, we've owned a gym here in Mesa for 6 years, and about a year ago, I was also running a competition series, a head-to-head competition that was called Rush Club. Mm-hmm. And so I did that for about 5 years, and next year we will be getting rid of all of our possessions and throwing all of us into a fifth wheel and traveling the country. And if that goes well and we can stand each other, we might attempt to go all the way to the bottom of Chile, because we can do that.
Oh, that's awesome. Awesome, yeah. Man. It looks like you got an adventure coming up soon with the family, 3 daughters, especially in one band with you.
Yeah, we do. We got an adventure coming.
All right. So, AJ, let's backtrack. You served in the Army. You served for 8 years. Is that correct?
Yeah. So I was Army National Guard from Utah for 8 years. I was the NBC NCO for a field artillery unit. But shortly after getting out of school, they reclassed me with ammo, called Ammo Team Chief, for the field artillery, and then I just kind of took on whatever role was needed in the unit. Especially when we deployed. We deployed twice, but the second deployment we ended up in Ramadi, Iraq, 05 to 06, and did a bunch of different stuff there. So.
Excellent, man. Yeah. So a lot of our viewers are, obviously veterans and, defended our nation. What advice would you give to those that are still serving, and maybe to those that are wanting to serve?
So those that are still serving, I guess the best advice is to be present in what you're doing, but also be prepared for the transition if that's something that you're planning on doing, especially if it's prior to like a retirement. I meet guys all the time that, it kind of feels like most people don't go to full retirement that I meet, but I think it's really important and probably under discussed how to transfer out and what to be ready for. So that's what I would say for those who are already serving. For those who are getting in, I actually so I was 8 years Army National Guard, and then when I moved to Arizona, I joined the Arizona Air National Guard at the security forces, and I almost got back in about a year and a half ago, and I didn't because of the lack of preparedness that I discovered in the unit. And it wasn't for the sake of the guys that I was there with. I'd been out for 7 years. I went back. The guys who were still in from when I was there, they all basically said, dude, we're screwed. There's not much experience anymore left in the unit. And the ones that are here, not all of them, right? So I don't want to lump everybody into one category, but most of the people that are in, they're only in to get their college paid for, and then they're out. And so we have these guys that are half-assing their enlistment. And I would probably say that could be more National Guard related than active duty. And that I don't know much about the active duty life because I wasn't in that life. But it's unfortunate, right? When I was in, we were waiting for a sniper spot to open up, or in the Air Force, it was Raven School. We were hoping for those spots, and they were few and far between because there was a list of guys you had to wait your turn. And now they've got so many spots open, they're actually at risk of losing spots because they can't fill them, because the guys that are in don't want to go above and beyond. They're there for the bare minimum to get the stuff, get their college paid for or whatever. And I know I'm bagging on these guys, but I am, because I want them to know that what they're doing is important. If they're going to be in, play the game. Not just for, if you want to be selfish, it's not just for the country. It is, but if you play the game all full out, you'll learn some things that will actually benefit you more than that degree that you're getting. But you got to put yourself in it. You got to be willing to play the game. So that would be my advice.
Well, I mean, excellent advice, brother. With me being in, I can kind of relate to what you're saying is, a lot of people now that are in, like you said, they're just doing the bare minimum. And I feel like, we're lowering the standards somewhat with these guys, and, just aiming for the bare minimum and not trying to excel in what they're doing. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great point to that. So, talking about your experience in the Army and the National Guard, how did your experience with what about your transitioning experience? How did that go about, and what's one advice for those who are in the same phase, maybe that are maybe transitioning out of the uniform? What advice would you give them?
Yeah, that's a great question. And so one of the things that I do as well is I coach people on their mindset, life coaching type stuff. And so I want to tell you how much I appreciate the questions that you sent over to me, because they were very thought-provoking and valuable. So the thing about preparing to transition is you have to be willing to let your life be moved in phases. And sometimes what that requires is letting go of almost all of what that phase of your life was that you're leaving. So there's some key things that you can keep, right? I'm very protective of my kids and my family, and there's things that I developed and learned being in the military that I won't let go of. But I call it the Uncle Rico effect. If you've ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, Uncle Rico used to throw a football quarter mile. Oh, yeah. Because he's stuck in the phase of life where he was the quarterback. And so when you guys are getting ready to transition, don't get out unless you're ready to get out. Because a lot of guys get out and then they talk about the good old days. Brother, those are gone. Let them be in the past. Take the skills that you developed, the awareness of your situational awareness and things that your family can benefit, you can benefit, the valuable training that you were given. But a veteran is like, high school graduate. It's on my resume. But I don't walk around as a high school graduate and brag about it, right? When veteran, it goes on your resume, and that's where it belongs. But that's the only place. If you come to my house, I have very few things. I've got some patriotic stuff in here because I'm still a patriot, and I've got some in my office here, some steins that I bought at the PX. That's that kind of stuff. But I don't have all of this stuff that it looks like I'm still paramilitary, because I am a civilian. Veteran is the status that's on my resume, and I've transitioned to be a civilian, and I had to. It took time, but the letting go of that is what allowed me to be a powerful civilian and do the things I needed to do. And the more I'm able to kind of let myself transition and move into a new part of my life, the closer I become with my family, the easier it is to communicate with other civilians. I'm not driving around, stupid civilians, like, yo, you're a civilian. I hate to break it to you, but once you're out, you're a civilian now. All right. So go into that, step into that phase of your life powerfully, and you'll excel, because you'll have experiences that the civilians around you that never served won't understand. And you can make real shit happen if you let yourself be in that position. So you got to be willing to transform. That's really what it comes down to.
Excellent point, man. AJ, do you feel like that's increasing problem with the guys that are getting out now, like with our military veterans, like that they have that sort of, like you said, like when they were in, they couldn't wait to get out, but now when they're out, all they talk about is their time, when they were in uniform.
Yeah, I do. But here's the thing: the good news is I think that I know why, because I had to go through it. What's missing for you once you get out is the tribe. It's the place to belong. Mm-hmm. When you get out of the military, so for a lot of us, we didn't really belong anywhere. And then we got in, and all of a sudden, you have a tribe. You have people that you have to show up for to be successful, which is vital I think it's vital to a human being's purpose. Like if you don't show up, things don't get done, and so you have purpose, right? And you have other guys and people around you they've got your back. So you've got tribe saying, hey, you help me, I help you, we're here for each other. I've got your back, you've got my back. So when you get out, I think the hard part for the guys is that they're lost, and it's because they haven't found a new tribe. You have to find a new tribe. And I believe that's the case because that's what I found when I first found CrossFit. It doesn't have to be CrossFit, but it was the environment that had group training. So there was a group of people that came together to accomplish a task. And so I needed to show up to contribute to that group, right? If I was there, I could contribute. My energy's there. I'm encouraging somebody. I'm pushing somebody. And vice versa, they were able to give that back to me. And so because there was that exchange of energy, we now became a tribe. And when I found that, dude, I was selling pest control door to door. That's what I did when I got home from deployment. And I'm walking down the street miserable, thinking, man, I used to be a fucking, can I swear on here? Sorry. I don't know.
You're good, man. Yeah.
I'm thinking, I used to be a fucking warrior, and now I'm getting doors slammed in my face because I'm a door-to-door pest control salesman. What is my purpose? I have no purpose. I'm doing the same job, but I start doing CrossFit. In my case, it was CrossFit. I find that I have this tribe, and I didn't know this was going on when it happened, by the way. It took research and kind of me wanting to understand why I was transitioning the way I was. But I'm doing the same job, but it's less impactful. It's less negative, right? I was making awesome money. Dude, I made $65,000 in 6 months, and I didn't work the rest of the year. But I was miserable because it didn't have a purpose and I didn't have tribe. Well, once I found that tribe doing the same job, all the like, this is, this sucks, what am I up to? That kind of went away. And when I found that tribe and I got into fitness, and that's a really important component, the fog cleared and I was able to see opportunity. I was able to see possibility because I kind of got everything, taken care of. So.
Excellent points, man. Find your tribe, guys. Find your mission. Find your next mission. Find your tribe, and stick to it, man. Hey, I want to thank Benjamin, and Micah for tuning in. Benjamin, saying truth to what you're saying, man. So I appreciate Benjamin and Micah for tuning in. So let's go talk about the business. You have this gym, the Rush Club Human Performance Center. Yeah. How did your time in the military help you with what you have now with the gym?
Well, so the thing about me, before I deployed, I literally, by the time from my working age at 16, I had a new job every 3 to 6 months. I would start something. If I didn't like it, I would quit. And I would always find reasons that wasn't a good job for me. My excuse was, I'm young. Why stick with something? I need to find what it is I want to do. That was my excuse, but it became habit. And so I would start something, quit, start something, quit. Then I got married, and I would start something, quit. And now I'm not providing like I should. When I deployed, I didn't get to quit. Like you're there. It's called AWOL, treason. So it wasn't an option. So it broke me. But then when I got, so that's the first thing. It broke me of bad habits that I'd created. The second thing is it taught me how to be tenacious. because you got to show up. Every day you got to show up. When you're in the military, especially if you go on deployments, you don't have a choice. You learn how to show up and keep pushing. And so when you go to start a business or you go to transition into the civilian world, tap into that tenacity and learn how to task and delegate just like you did. If you happen to be an NCO or somebody with a level of leadership while you were in, use those skills to help task and create leadership for the job that you have now or the business that you start now. Because where a lot of businesses fail is like for me, I had to learn this lesson, but people want to run around and wear the S on their chest, right? I'm doing it all. I can handle it. I can do everything. You're going to find out real quick and real hard that you can't do everything. You need to learn how to task and create a team. So learning how to create a team was developed while I was in the military. Being tenacious was developed while in the military. And then also being willing to take risks also came from being in the military. If you realize that there is no greater risk than going to combat, the other risks in the civilian world get a lot easier, right? Right. Ego is the only thing that's at risk, and if you can learn to tell that thing to just shut the fuck up, then it's going to get its ass kicked over and over again. Then take those risks because, dude, man, I fell more than I win, but I keep showing up. Right? I fell all the time, and my ego's now like, oh shit, here we go again. And I'm just like, I'm doing it anyway, bro. Let's go. And I fell, but when I fell, I come out of it with something new. So,
excellent point, man. I mean, like, guys, if for those veterans out there, if you've been in combat, I mean, what's worse than being in combat? I mean, you know, if you got dreams of building your own business or building your own empire, why not just go for it? And you know, if you fail, you fail, but at least you showed up and you tried, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talking about your business. What's been the worst moment so far with your business?
Yeah, so the worst for me was Rush Club, this show that I had created, right? Rush Club was incredible. It's
Is that Rush Club Nation?
Yeah, Rush Club Nation. Yep, the website's no longer there. You can still find Facebook. I haven't shut that down. I'm torn between, you know, fully letting go, and I think it'll happen at some point. But I wanted to preserve some of the content that's on there. So Rush Club Nation on Facebook. What we were was a head-to-head weight class competition for the functional fitness audience. We were the head-to-head of CrossFit, and we did it in weight classes like the UFC. So you could have two giant dudes going massive weights, and then you could have all the way on the other spectrum two small people going more gymnastics, and it was always neck and neck. And then because it was head to head, I created an adaptive division for in the beginning it was for military veterans who lost arms, legs, and were in wheelchairs, but obviously it evolved to civilians because there's some incredibly talented civilians that were born that way, or you know, what accidents or what have you. And we were able to make it equal, right? So like Derek Wida, if people know who he is, he competed on my stage against Marcus Hayward. Both of the guys lost their legs one leg above the knee. Well, that's a very equal matchup. Two guys missing their legs above the knee, it's now super equal, right? So we were able to create this environment where adaptive athletes got a legitimate shot at a competition to earn a real title. And that didn't exist anywhere else for them. So the hardest part for me was having that not work because, dude, we were broadcasting to 250,000 people live, and we would have 600 people buy tickets in-house. I mean, the show was awesome. It worked. And then it didn't work. I couldn't make money. I didn't have the investment to grow it to a level that actually brought an ROI. Obviously, I wasn't the right leader for that. If I was, it would have worked. And so owning up to that and realizing that I just have to stop. It's just taking away from my life now because it's going nowhere. That was really hard because when I made the announcement, you know, the amount of people that saw it that were positively affected by it, you know, the kind of the cry of support that they were disappointed it was going away was heartbreaking for me. I mean, it just made a difference for people. So that was tough. And then I realized, anyway, so yeah.
So, in talking about, well, first off, I appreciate you for being open with us and, talking about your failures with your business ventures. But in talking about, Rush Club, how did you overcome that moment of, failures, like you said? And I guess what's been the best moment so far with your business?
Yeah. So overcoming failures, I've been developing myself, self-awareness, introspection for many years now. It started when I was ready to divorce my wife the first time. Because I could tell that, if I'm not willing to do everything on my side, why would I expect her to do everything on her side? I've got these 3 beautiful little girls. The last thing I want is another man to raise them. So I'm going to do everything. Again, tenacity, right? Being tenacious. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I did everything I could. That's what it came down to. So because I've been working on that field for myself already, it took me about a week of really kind of going within and finding where I could learn from. And I realized I'm a fan of like mythology, right? So like burn your ships, and that's not mythology, but the whole concept of burning your ships and conquering the land because you can't escape, because you just burnt your only mode of escape. The other thing is Sisyphus. To me, we are meant to be Sisyphus. For those who don't know, it's Greek mythology. Sisyphus was basically punished to roll the stone up the mountain the rest of his existence. But what people don't understand or may not understand is that he is complete with that. He's one with the stone. He understands that his life is this series of rolling the stone up the hill. So as soon as you connect that, you can now be complete with it and okay with that's what it is. Life is meant to be a series of disappointments and accomplishments, because it's the disappointments that make the accomplishments so sweet, so amazing. If you weren't failing, you wouldn't have any reason to celebrate the success. And only through this introspection and development that I realized, like, oh man, okay, I'm Sisyphus. I'm rolling this stone up the hill. I failed. Now it's time to go to the next level. And so as soon as I kind of connected myself with that, I was cool with that. I'm like, hey, dude, I had a blast. And it started kind of before I made the final decision to be done. I thought to myself, will I look back and be grateful that I was the guy on the stage with the microphone with these incredible athletes and all of these people being inspired? Will I look back and be so grateful that I had the opportunity to have that part of my life, even if it was just a small moment? Or am I going to be the guy that sits there and, I'm sad and disappointed and depressed because I failed? Fuck that, man. I'm going to take that experience and build the next thing for me, because it's all a series of growing. So I was okay once I connected with that, with the failure. It's still disappointing because it's not out there for the people anymore, but it's not it's more of like a disappointment that, yeah, it would have been great to see it succeed, but it doesn't hold me back. It actually propels me forward, and it gives me some insight to what I can do next.
And once again, like, it's a failure, but I mean, you also learned a lot of lessons from it, right?
Right.
Sort of say what they say is like it's only a failure if you don't learn from it.
Yeah.
I take it that you've learned a lot from that lesson.
Yeah, a lot, man. I mean, like I said, it was a big deal. 250,000 people live. We were the first company to ever throw an event on Clearwater, Florida. Nobody's ever been authorized that, and we did it. I mean, so we were playing at a really high level. And I think probably what I would say the hardest part for me was, you listen to all these kind of self-help books and stuff like that, which I 100% believe in, and they say to put it out there in the universe what it is you want to accomplish, and it will happen, right? If you put it out there, it's going to happen if you keep working for it. And you should, and it doesn't always work out. So when I would tell people, I'm like, oh yeah, man, I'm creating the next UFC. So the ego just got ground to dust when it didn't happen, because I told everybody, I'm creating the next UFC. I'm playing so big, man, we're going to be worldwide. And when it didn't work out, my ego was like, oh man, I look like an idiot. That's what I had to get over, with the ego being like, oh, you little bitch, you look like a pussy now. You didn't accomplish it. That's the stuff that was going on in my head. So once I quieted that guy down and realized, dude, man, I learned some amazing things. Like I can connect anybody. I created so many friendships and relationships, and I learned that I could do that. That's the value. So now I have a state change. I have a mental state change where I'm on another level because I was willing to fail.
Mm-hmm. Where others weren't. You took that step.
Right.
Awesome, brother. So let's move on to the good part now. What's been the best moment so far?
Oh man, the best moment so far is finding my tribe and discovering myself through that. So I created a gym. Once so if you'll allow me to kind of dive into this a little bit. So I created the gym because I found my tribe, and I knew that that's what other service members needed to find when they got out. So I created our gym. Our gym is phenomenal, and the people in there, I love them. They're incredible. And I've got more civilians than I do veterans in there. But dude, I was able to transition and become one with civilians again. Like I no longer, like they're just people. I'm a people. They're a people. I have this, like we talked about earlier, I've got this cool background, but it doesn't define me. And so one of the greatest things in my life at this point in the transition and greatest successes is creating this solid group of people in my community that they are now learning what tribe is. Civilians don't know what they're missing. They don't know what a tribe is like until they become a part of my gym. And now they're like, wow, that's what's missing in my life. So this is what I wanted to dive into. And if anybody ever listens to this that has a background or connections in neuroscience and so forth, I'd love to dive more into it. So here's what I think is missing. Dopamine, adrenaline, and serotonin. Okay, when you're in the military, and especially if you go on deployments, when you land off the plane or however you get into country, dopamine and adrenaline just starts flowing. And the serotonin comes from knowing that you have people that have your back, especially if you get into a firefight or an IED goes off or whatever, and you like, that rush is going, the adrenaline, the dopamine's high, and you're high-fiving each other like, dude, we survived, or whatever, we kicked their ass. That's all there. And then you come home off the plane and that gets shut off hardcore. It's gone. You have nothing left. There's no more, especially when you transition out. I think that's why guys will buy motorcycles and go 150 miles down the road, an hour down the road. They're trying to release that again, and they don't know that that's what's missing. Yeah, they don't know that that's what's missing. So we put ourselves in these positions that could cost us our life, or we try to drown it out with alcohol or whatever. When you go into a gym that has a group training mentality, and again, I'm not selling CrossFit. You can find it anywhere, but I think the group is the key. My gym is not CrossFit, by the way. They actually kicked me out because of the Rush Club show, and that's but when you connect with people in a gym, when you walk into the gym, the workout is going to create a level of adrenaline and dopamine because it's going to be tough. You're going to get your ass kicked. And if you've been doing it long enough, you recognize that, holy shit, I'm about to get this workout's going to suck, right? Once you get into it, when you look at the workout on the board, like, yeah, that's going to hurt. So those hormones start getting released. And then while you're in it and you're getting your ass kicked, somebody says, come on, man, you got this. Serotonin, instantly released. Now you just got the hormones, the 3 hormones that you were missing from when you were in. And if you stay in that environment, you keep going back, it starts to lift the fog. That's what it did for me. That's what it's done for the other guys that I've had the opportunity to talk to and interview, like Derek White, Marcus Hayward, Jose Luis Sanchez. These guys are in the fitness. I haven't had a chance to talk to him, but Tim Kennedy. I mean, these guys that we are watching that are excelling out of their service, they're the guys that are out there kicking ass. They're showing up, putting themselves in those environments that make them release those hormones that are needed. So I think that that's what's missing. So for me, my greatest accomplishment was creating an environment that provides that for myself and for others.
Excellent point, man. So do you feel like, well, I guess you had mentioned it, that's the number one thing that's missing with the veterans nowadays, transitioning out of uniform, is trying to find that tribe or that community that they can kind of belong to after service? Yeah,
certainly. Finding the tribe, getting into exercise. I talk to guys all the time, and it's disappointing because I talk to guys that have kind of given up. and they start complaining, well, my back hurts, so I can't do it, or my shoulder hurts, or my knee hurts. Dude, listen, shut the fuck up. Do something. I've worked with guys that are paralyzed. I've worked with guys missing both their legs. I've worked with people that can barely move, and they still show up. And you're going to complain to me that your back hurts? I get it. You might have a legitimate issue, but if you can move one arm, move that one arm and get moving.
Get moving. Yeah.
It will work. It will start to make an impact on your life. So don't I've worked with enough people now that I don't take excuses very easily. I just basically so.
Yeah, I mean, excellent point, man. Just get up and get moving, do something.
Yeah, exactly.
So AJ, some of our viewers might be looking into becoming gym owners or maybe starting their own fitness competitions or whatnot. What's your advice to those who are maybe looking into that?
Be careful with who you partner with if you're going to partner. Be 100% committed to the people that are coming in. Okay, so people before profit. Listen to what they have to say. That's hard to do because in the beginning, you're so worried about making the bottom line. And so you might overlook the personal connection that you have with people. Frankly, because I care about people and I don't want anybody to get their ass handed to them if they can avoid it. Make sure that you're the right person to open a gym. In my experience, 6 years in, introverts are not great gym owners, not group training anyway. Introverts make really good one-on-one coaches, but they have a really hard time in front of big groups. And so there's like a disconnect, right? I've seen it. I've had 3 or 4 introverts as coaches in my gym, and they not one time have they worked out. So doesn't mean it can't. I'm not a person who says it can't be done. But just be aware of who you are and what your personality is. So find somebody good to partner with. Make sure you're not wearing the S on your chest, like I said earlier. Learn to delegate. Let people contribute. People contributing gives them that release of serotonin as well that lets them feel like they belong, right? I've got a lot of volunteers in my gym because they love it, and our gym works really well on volunteers.
You mentioned this a couple of times, wearing the S on your chest, having to do everything on your own. What's one advice that you would give to maybe those who are looking to, creating that team around them to help them out? So that way they're not having to do it all on their own. What are some of the key things that you'd want to look for to have someone in your team?
That's a good question, especially for me, because when I opened my gym, I've gone through probably 5 different partners. And many of the cases, I was the bad partner. But because I started, I was able to stick around, right? So I certainly have weaknesses of my own that have transformed over the years. But don't partner with anybody who is your friend. And don't partner with somebody that can do the same things you can do. Make sure that the people that you're delegating or having you help, if they want to help or whatever, make sure that what they have are the skills that you don't have. Because what will end up happening is you could start butting heads because disagreements of how to do the same thing versus having somebody who's very detail-oriented versus somebody who's creative, right? You get 2 creative people in the same room doing the same business, you're going to have a lot of good ideas that never happen.
Nothing happens. That's an excellent point, man. You got to find somebody that's kind of completely opposite to you. You can, maybe somebody that can operate the gym and you handle the business side, or vice versa. Right.
And on the other side of that too, if you are very detail oriented and very analytical and cautious, you should have somebody that knows how to be creative and can take, and that will be able to communicate with you to help you take risks, because you have to take risks to find the reward. Even just opening a gym is going to be a risk. So that would be my biggest advice, is partner with somebody. If you're going to partner or bring people in that have skills that you don't have.
Excellent point, man. So AJ, what's one internet resource that our listeners can use into, like I said, creating their own gym or maybe their own fitness competition?
Probably when it comes to fitness and exercise, my friends, Mike Bledsoe's a good friend of mine, Barbell Shrugged. They have all kinds of really valuable information. not just in like how to train people, but they also have barbell business podcasts that you can go back and find on how to run gyms. I reach out to Mike frequently. I'm just fortunate to kind of have him in my circle to ask information for, but those guys have some great resources. Don't be afraid to maybe reach out to somebody who's doing it in a county over from where you're going to open up. Like if you want to open a gym, find somebody that's running one that's not going to be in competition. And my experience, a lot of times they're all too happy to help. But in terms of the internet, I would say Barbell Shrugged is a great one. It's called the Barbell Collective now. And there's a lot of really great people on there sharing information. That's really where I would start. It's kind of a one-stop shop for a lot of different people.
Awesome, man. Go ahead.
Also, it also has to go along with your self-development. Okay, so I wouldn't be open 6 years had I not been willing to also start transforming this as well. I need to train this, and it's not knowledge about how to lift a barbell. It's not knowledge about how to balance your books. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is when information comes in, how do you react to that information? How do you perceive it, and how do you take action towards it, right? If you're not willing to learn new ways to do things, it's going to be a hard road. So you got to be willing to give up some of the strong suits that you have, or at least be aware of them so that you can better grow. And I would say, I would actually honestly start there before the how-tos of running a gym. Because when you transform that, the other things will happen easier.
Excellent point, man. I just want to recognize our viewers, Ben, Micah, like I said, Adam, Lillette for watching. Thank you guys for watching. And if you guys are watching this later on, make sure you guys drop down a comment. If you guys have any questions with AJ later on, just let us know and drop that comment. All right, guys. Coming up in the last portion of our interview here. So this is the 5 fitness facts of our guests. So this is where I ask them 5 questions, 5 fitness facts. AJ, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, brother. So first question, what's your favorite workout?
Favorite workout is DT. It's a CrossFit workout. DT is a hero workout. It's 5 rounds, 12 deadlifts. So for the men, it's 155. I don't remember what it is for ladies. Sorry. But it's a 155-pound deadlift, 150. So with the same bar, 12 deadlifts, 9 hang power cleans, and 6 shoulder to overhead or push jerks. 5 rounds for time.
And what's your least favorite?
Another CrossFit workout called Fran. Fran is 21-15-9 pull-ups and thrusters. And my fastest time is 2 minutes and 18 seconds for those that know that workout. It feels like death, and you never have a reason to ever want to do it again once you've done it.
Yeah, that's a killer workout, man. So next question, if you had to choose one person you could train with, who would it be and why?
I would ask to train with Dwayne Johnson, with The Rock.
The Rock?
Yeah, with The Rock, because I think I could hang with him. Actually, I don't think I can. I know I could hang with The Rock.
Dude's a beast, man. Now,
let me clarify. Not pound for pound, I'm sure, but I could hang with him with my own percentage of weights.
Right. Not lift the same weights as him.
Yeah.
Next question. Recommend a book for our listeners to read.
One of my favorite books recently is Stealing Fire. It's about learning how to be in flow. There's a lot of discussion in psychedelics, the use of psychedelics. There's actually a lot of powerful research that's coming around now for PTSD recovery with MDMA and things like that. It's actually a very intriguing book. Even if you're not into that kind of stuff, you don't have to be to read or listen to a book to kind of get some insight. But and you also don't have to take psychedelics to get there. There's Wim Hof. Wim Hof breathing is a breathing and meditation method that can actually put you in the same similar states to have some profound impacts without tasting the devil's lettuce or whatever you want to call it. But it's called Stealing Fire. It's actually very intriguing. The science that they're uncovering with that is actually quite unbelievable. Google has built a million facility they call the Flow Dojo, just to see if they can teach people how to get into flow right away. Some of our military elite, like Navy SEALs and stuff like that, they've learned how to tap into that naturally, I think. But they have to. If you're operating at a level like that, those guys have to really be in sync. And so that's all part of the conversation of how does that happen? How, if I'm going into a door and I've been training to go left, but all of a sudden I have to go right, the guy behind me has to be able to be so in sync with me that he can go left, even though I changed the plan like that. Like, you're just in sync. And so stealing fire is a lot about what that looks like scientifically.
That's interesting, man. Stealing Fire is the book.
Yeah.
Have to check that out.
Yeah.
Next question.
It's not hiding in the back of the library, right? It's actually a really popular book. Lots of people are discovering it and talking about it right now. So if you get into it, you'll see that there's quite a bit of conversation going on about that. So,
next question. Tell us your favorite quote and why.
Favorite quote, I'm going to paraphrase it because it's not sitting right in front of me, but it's by Richard Branson. If you're ever given the opportunity to do something and you don't know how, say yes and figure it out on the way, basically. And the reason for that is because fortune favors the bold. I didn't know how to run a show in front of 250,000 people live. And I did it anyway. I said yes and I went for it, right? So if you're given an opportunity to do something, that person that's offering it to you saw something within you that could possibly make it happen. Now, it doesn't always work out, but say yes and figure it out. Don't let fear be the reason that you didn't do it.
Take that step forward and take the leap and do it, man.
Yeah, exactly.
And finally, our last question. Where can our listeners connect with you?
You broke up there, man. Sorry.
Oh, all right. Last question. Where can our listeners connect with you?
On my Facebook page, we have my coaching page is called Dream Big, Play Bigger. Also a website, dreambigplaybigger.com. And then my personal pages are AJ Richards, and on Instagram, Dream Big, Play Bigger as well.
Dream Big, Play Bigger. Facebook, Instagram, and you said the website as well, dreambigplaybigger.com. All right, guys. So make sure you guys check that out. Check out what AJ's up to. Check him out as he travels around the United States, around the country with his wife and these 3 girls later on. You said this coming year, this year or next year?
June 1st next year, the lease is up in the house that we're renting, and we're going to hit the road, see where the adventures take us.
Awesome, brother. So one final question for me, AJ. What can I do to help you?
Oh, man, I really appreciate that. Just spread the word, man. You've given me a really great opportunity to share what I've learned, and what I've learned has been a real passion of mine to share with others. When we got home from Iraq, it was 2006, and in 2012, my battle buddy killed himself. PTSD sucks, and a lot of times what's being offered to us is not the thing that we need. So that's why I shared all of this about the hormones and how they release and finding your tribe and getting that purpose. I understand that that's not going to work for everybody. Traumatic brain injuries need special attention, right? There's things that happen that's not going to work for everybody. But I also feel like there's a lot of us out there that kind of gave up and we didn't have any direction. So you're already helping me with my mission, and that's by allowing me to be on the show and share the message. And so I appreciate that.
Well, Adrian, I appreciate you for coming on and sharing your story, and thank you for sharing your knowledge. And best of luck to you and your family and your 3 girls and traveling around the country next year.
Yeah, you too, man, and congratulations. And I'm excited for you to have the first addition to your family.
Awesome, thank you, brother. Sure. All right, guys. Make sure you guys tune in to the Defender Fitness Alliance show. Make sure you guys check out AJ at dreambigplaybigger.com. And all right, guys, we'll see you guys soon. Keep changing lives.
Thanks.